Okay, so today I am going to be installing a vacuum fluorescent display on this is a SP-1200 Rev 2. I've already obviously taken the top case off, disconnected the IDC header here, which is for the control interface, and there's also a power header here that's disconnected from the main board that lives in the bottom. This was an LCD install done by somebody in the past on this machine. A really wonky job that they did. They just left this adjustment trim pot for the contrast like wadded up in here with a twist tie from like a bag of bread on there. I don't know. This is garbage. I don't know what the hell. So it looks like they had this super duper long cable in here for some reason. I don't know what the hell is going on, but easy enough to just disconnect that and goodbye. Put that in the trash bin, and we are not going to be reusing this, so say goodbye to that as well. The Basemobile VFD kit comes with a ribbon that is very much identical to the stock. It's actually identical to the stock display ribbon that comes with your SP when it's new. And this one is not actually soldered. You can obviously see that it's not soldered to the display. The kit, however, comes with this soldered to the display. So there's really not a lot of stuff that you have to do to get it working. Where is there it is. Okay, so this is the Noritake VFD. This is in my opinion, this is like the very best, top of the line. This is the best display option for an SP-1200. This display, there's not this exact model, but a similar option is available from us for the Emulator 2. So yeah, the first thing that I'm going to do, flip on my soldering iron, get it set to the right temperature, and get ready to solder this guy into place. So on the Noritake display, the pins are labeled pin 1, pin 14. The pin orientation is such that this needs to be soldered in on the back of the display, so that when it's installed, it just goes straight across to the header on the SP-12 switch panel. This is the only area that you're going to have to do any desoldering on your SP-1200 or SP-12, and this display works for all variants of the SP-1200 and the SP-12. So you need to remove this original soldered ribbon connector, the original display ribbon connector, and there are various different stock displays that were put in these. EMU used a lot of different LCDs over the years. Some of them have a small board that adapts the straight 14 pins in a row to a different type of display that they used that had two rows of 7 on one side. Let's see if I can find an example. I think I have a display here somewhere. Yeah, I don't have one handy, but anyways, if your SP has that, you can remove that adapter board and just set it aside. You don't necessarily need to keep it. So you'll need to take the switch panel off of the enclosure. When you do that, you just need to remove all these Phillips screws, and then obviously pull all of the knobs and fader caps off. You'll notice that I have some foam here on my bench. You definitely want to have some sort of protection for the front of the SP, so it doesn't get scratched or messed up. So once you get the switchboard out, you'll be desoldering the original ribbon from the front side. And the best way to do that is with a good desoldering vacuum tool. If you don't have that, the next best option is to use a high quality solder wick. I like to use MG Chemicals. I use number 444 fine braid. This is just really finely braided copper wire that has solder flux. So when you're doing this job, you just take your soldering iron and you heat next to the solder lug, and you use the use the soldering iron kind of like this, and then the solder braid will wick up the solder that's holding the things into place. It can be a little bit frustrating your first try. You might want to get some junk electronics, you know, an old radio or something that's not valuable, and experiment using the solder wick to desolder components. You definitely don't want to jump into working on an SP with no experience. You will most definitely mess the stuff up, so don't do that. So like I was saying, we're going to solder this thing onto the display. When you get your kit, you will not have to do this. This will already be assembled, so don't worry about doing this part. There's actually no soldering required to install this kit on the display. The only soldering that you're going to have to do is to put this 14 pin header onto the switchboard. Really the hardest part is doing the desoldering and cleanup, getting this original ribbon off of the header. It can be difficult. Some people like to instead leave the original ribbon connected to the SP and then desolder from the stock LCD. That's one way to do it. If you were going to do that, you would have to reverse this on the kit as it comes. So keep in mind that you would still have to do a little bit of, you'd have to double the desoldering duty there. So let's see, I got my soldering iron here. Clean this tip off, it's a little bit dirty. I'm gonna use some good Kester high quality leaded solder. I really don't like lead free solder. I think it's garbage. I understand the environmental and health concerns of lead, but I don't care about it because lead solder flows so much smoother. You can really do a lot better job with good quality leaded solder. This solder also has a flux core, so you notice that I didn't apply any flux to these terminals. Alright, so that's that. You'll notice that the display that I took it, where is that piece of garbage? Yeah, this is crap. You'll notice that this had like corners cut out of it, and it doesn't line up with the holes in the SP. Don't put this kind of crap in your SP. This is junk. That's just crap. So this guy here, we're just going to, actually I gotta find the other nuts and bolts. What I do with those. Hold on just a second. Somewhere up here. I'm always losing stuff. Well, there they are. Normally I use these little magnetic dealies to keep track of hardware so I don't lose it. So I'm notorious for losing hardware. Alright, so there we got our hardware, got our display, and the original hardware that comes with the SP-12 and SP-1200 are these little teeny tiny little 1/8 inch screws, machine screws, some little nylon washers, and then you want to make sure that the nylon washers stay on there. Actually, I forgot a very important part. We're not ready to put this on just yet. Because the Noritake doesn't have a polarizing filter built into it, and it also, this front surface is glass. It's really fragile. It's very easy to break. And if you break it, it's trash. So we want to put a filter on here. The kit comes with either red, blue, green, or the one that I recommend is a smoked polarizing filter. So we're going to use the smoked polarizing filter. And that is this guy right here. And this one has not been cut to size, so we'll just do that. Just gonna kind of eyeball it and use a razor knife to make a score on one side of this. If you're not really good at making straight lines, you might want to use a flat edge. That's all that it takes though, is just a little score, and then this just drops right in there. The best way to hold this in place is a little bit of dust, is with some hot glue. Or you can use, where is the E6000? This stuff. It's really awesome clear self-leveling glue. This stuff is called E6000. I use this a lot on installs. The problem with this though is that it takes a while to dry. The other option is to use super glue, and that's totally suitable as well. There are a couple different brands of super glue that I like to use, but the best one to use is Gorilla, and they make it in this cool little dispenser that has a tip, or it has a little brush. So actually, let's just do this with super glue. Since I've got it here, and this will be faster than waiting for the hot glue gun to heat up. I'm just going to take the super glue and I'm going to paint a little bead along one side, and then we're going to wait for this to dry, and then we'll do the other side. It does not take very long to dry, so it will not take very long. Just a little bead like that. And then we'll wait for that to dry for a second. this this upgrade on the SP. I think it looks fabulous. It really is the cream of the crop when it comes to display modifications. Do our other side here. You want to use a pretty liberal amount of super glue if you're going to use the super glue for this. You want to make sure that it gets up in underneath. Alright, so that's that. I think I'm going to smooth that out a little bit more. Now you notice that I didn't do the sides. You really don't need to bother with the sides. It's not necessary.
It's classic, it's gonna be classic.
Also, the filter that is provided in the kit is already cut to be the right size, so you won't have to do that.
It's classic, it's gonna be classic. It's what happened, you make shit this timeless.
I got my German beer here off camera. I'm gonna have a little plug. Okay, that's almost dry. This glue is awesome. This Gorilla super glue is the bomb. Bomb diggity. Let's see, which way do I gotta hold this? Oh wait, no, that was the right way. Duh. Sorry about the lighting. The lighting's not super great on my desk, but it's the best that I could do considering my circumstances. Okay. So yeah, the next step is to install the display. Actually, I'm gonna make sure, do a little tap test. It's not quite dry yet, but we'll wait a little bit longer. Wait a little bit longer for this glue to dry. There is a there's this other kind of glue that I use sometimes. It is a super glue, and then you use a UV laser to actually cure the glue, and it's almost instantaneous. As soon as the UV hits the glue, it just dries super hard. But this is not that kind of glue. So yeah, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'll go ahead and put our washers on here. So you have the original screws, and then you have the nylon spacer, and then you have a set of washers that go on the front side of the display. And then you have 4 more washers that go on the back side of the display. Another thing that I'm going to do before I button this up is I'm going to get an alcohol swab and I'm going to wipe the display off to make sure that it doesn't have any smudges or fingerprints on it. So you got some alcohol here. This is just 99% isopropyl alcohol. And a clean cotton rag. And I'll spray the alcohol onto the rag. And then just very gently wipe off any smudgy fingerprints. There's a dry spot on the rag to polish it a little bit. I want to make sure that there isn't any dust or anything like that in there. So then the last step is basically just setting the display on here, and like so, and then you put the 4 washers on. You connect the ribbon, really springy. Connect the ribbon to the display header. Put your washers on. Something I should mention is the screws that are coming through this. Before I put the switch panel back on, I put a dab of hot glue on the head of each of the screws to hold it in place. So when I go to put the nuts on the back of the screws, the screw doesn't turn. And these nuts have lock washers on them. They have these little spiky things that will hold them in place. Because it's a PCB, it does not need to be tightened down. I can literally just install these with my fingers. Finger tight is good enough. It does not need to be super tight. We don't want to stress the display at all. Yeah, so that's installation. Just like that. There's really nothing else to it. Next step is to put this SP back together. Going to attach the top to the base and do some testing. I just installed a floppy disk emulator in the base of this machine, and so I'm gonna do that. I also just installed a bunch of new tact switches on this machine, actually all new tact switches, and serviced the faders. So I'm just going to run it through its paces. Also cleaned all the triggers and make sure that it is running super smooth before I send it back to its papa. But yeah, that's it. That's the installation of the Noritake VFD. Pretty super simple. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of content, subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about it, and that'll encourage me to make more videos in the future.